All right, we have another CEREC guide case. I'm glad to see some of the CEREC guides coming out. I think this case will be a good illustration of some of the things that CEREC guide is maybe not most appropriate for. So let's go ahead and take a look. We can see here that the registration has been done. It's not bad looking, by the way. I just think that this is going to be a good case, but maybe CEREC guide isn't the best option for, but we'll take a closer look. Or I should take that back. I'm not saying that CEREC guide isn't the right case for this. I just think that there's some things that we can do a little bit better to make CEREC guide a little bit better for this moving forward. So let's go ahead and start, and let me go ahead and turn on my drawing tools here. And what I would like to do is begin by walking through the bone. So we can see our bone pretty clearly right here. One of the things I love about the XG3D is its ability to show the bone clearly. Let's go ahead and mark out our tissue. And again, we can see the tissue pretty clearly right through here again, just right, just like so. Okay, and then obviously we see our CEREC X-ray aid here. Now I would like to go ahead and mark out here in green where the CEREC guide, in other words, where the D2 value has to be set above. Just like so. Okay, so now our D2 value has to allow it to come above that green line. Now again, with the implant being in the ideal position here, that means our D2 value has to be right here on this end, but then that'll make the D2 value here. So instead, now the D2 value has to be at least here, and then it'll be right there on this end. So one of the things that we have to look for is when we put this X-ray aid, if we had just tilted the X-ray aid up like that, it would have made things a little bit better for us. So again, when we're planning these cases, we have to again place the X-ray aid based on where the final tooth's going to be, not based on the adjacent teeth and all of those things. Based on the final tooth, final implant, things like that, knowing that the maxillary bone requires the implant to be tilted a little bit to the lingual, makes you place the X-ray a little bit more angled towards the buccal, different things like that. So hopefully that helps. So let's go ahead and take a look at our sleeve. And so normally if we plan a 10 millimeter implant using the Nobel system, we would put a 20 millimeter sleeve. But when we plan 20 millimeter sleeve, we see that we may actually be just high. Actually, we're not going to be high enough, because again, if we take our line right here and draw it across, we can see that this area of the sleeve is not high enough. So to be able to do this case, we're probably going to need to have this one at maybe 21.5. And then again, if we come back in and draw our line kind of like so, and again I apologize that I can't draw straighter than this, and now we can see that we're there. So we're going to need to set our D2 value at 21.5 in this case to be able to place this implant. Now the only other thing that I notice here that we have to be cognizant of is right here we're going to have an implant that goes into the sinus a little bit. Now we can certainly shorten this implant. I don't want to be honest with you. I think that we shouldn't shorten the implant simply because 8.5 millimeter long with 4.3 by 8.5 is a pretty short implant. 4.3 by 10 is a little bit short of an implant. So just be prepared when you do the osteotomy here to add a little bit of bone. If you use the active implant, just drive the implant through the bone. It'll push the bone up, push the membrane up, and you'll see right here, you'll see a little puff of bone, and then that bone will heal. Again, that's what I would look at doing here. And then, the only other thing to look at is the bone level on the mesiodistal view to see if we can, get a little bit more out of it there. And again, maybe we could drop the implant to about right there. Again, we have good thick tissue here, so it's not like it's going to show, but still we're going to be into the sinus. So there's not really too many ways around this. So hopefully this is helpful and makes sense. Thank you.